G'day, Brant Garvey here, and welcome to Road to Professionalism, Episode 2. On today's episode, I'm going to share one of my life stories, and that was one of the pivotal moments in which my life took a drastic turn for the best. I'm also going to share some of my nutrition, and I'm not a dietitian by any standards, but I've been provided advice from dietitians, and I'll share some of the things that I use for nutrition in terms of time management. Reese Hunt asked me to share one of my life stories. Now, I thought I would share one of my, what I call, fail happy moments. I've learned through this process that you have to be able to accept failure as an outcome in order to be able to grow through that challenge. And one of these stories that springs to mind is my very first attempt at running. I was with my wife and our two dogs, Lani and Buster, and I was on the stretch of West Coast Highway just south of Scarborough. And I turned to my wife and I said, "Hey, I want to try running." And she's like, "What? Here? Now? Why?" And I was like, "Look, why not?" I've always been told, and in that process, I've developed a culture that running as an above-knee amputee was impossible. But I was now at that stage where I wanted to challenge that status quo. So I set off. I wouldn't have made it more than a single step before my artificial leg flung off into the air. I used my face to break my fall, and my dog Buster ran off. There was two girls on push bikes that were so horrified by what they'd just witnessed. They avoided eye contact, said nothing at all, and continued on cycling by. I turned to my wife, who had tears streaming down her face. Of laughter, of course. She thought it was one of the funniest things that she'd ever seen. I collected my leg and my ego, or what was left of it, and hunted down my dog Buster and called it a day. Now for me, I had every reason and excuse to give up there. That could have been me. Running could have been too hard. It's not possible as an above-knee amputee. But I didn't stop there. I came back the next day and I tried again, and I was able to get a few meters, and it was literally meters at a time for me that I was able to run further and further. I vividly remember celebrating the first time I ran 100 meters without stopping. How many people can remember the first time they ran 100 meters? I was then able to build myself up to, a kilometer, then 5Ks. And then eventually I took on the HBF, Run for a Reason, and my goal was to be able to do the 12Ks without stopping, which I managed to do in just over an hour and a half. One of the things that I learnt out of this process though, was that in Western society, or Western culture, we encourage excuses. So I hear it all the time. Someone coming into work and they would be like, "Hey, how you going? Did you get to the gym this morning?" No, I couldn't get to the gym, it was too cold. And then rather than holding that person accountable, the friend will then respond, "Yeah, you're right, it was cold this morning. Hey, you went to the gym yesterday, you don't need to go again today." If you were a true friend, you would pull them up on it. You would be saying, "Hold on a minute, mate, that's a pretty poor excuse. You just needed to get out there and get it done." And I find that we in society here encourage excuses and then pile them on top of each other. And my message and my vision and goal is to start getting people to challenge those excuses and hold people accountable for them. I love it when people do it to me. Andrew Jamo wants to hear how my nutrition has changed throughout my journey. And I originally started off training for an Ironman, and he wanted to know how it's also changed from the long distance stuff to the short distance stuff. Now, in terms of when I was doing the Ironman training and nutrition, it was all about making sure that I always had enough energy for the next training session. I wasn't really too professional at that stage, and I was just eating whatever I could. In fact, I think I'd be one of the only few people that was able to gain weight in the lead up to the Busselton Ironman. So that's quite an accomplishment. But after that, the vision of the Rio 2016 Paralympics, nutrition became a serious component. And now that the race is a sprint distance, it's much more vital to be at a lean race weight. Also, with all the commitments of becoming professional athlete and trying to represent your country in the Paralympics, time constraints are a massive factor. So now when I think of nutrition, I think of simple, balanced, and quick, and be able to eat it on the move. Now I'll give you some examples of what I have for my daily diet. My go-to meal is porridge for breakfast. Now my version of porridge is probably, slightly different from others, but I love having half a cup of rolled oats, half a cup of water, half a cup of milk, cooking that for a couple of minutes until it thickens, adding in some frozen berries into a bowl, pouring the porridge over that, then adding some goji berries and chia seeds on top, and about 20 grams of honey to finish it off. And I find that that's a perfect way to start the day, as it's something that sustains me for a long period of time. I feel full and I don't need to have that quick junk food or anything else after that. I feel like I'm good to go, and it sustains me for my training session. Now in terms of bridging meals, like a snack that I'd have between my lunch and breakfast, again for me it's all about simplicity and fueling the next training session. So an up and go is a common choice for me, or something similar to those lines, something that's around the 200 calorie mark, and again balanced. Now for lunch, I always like to try and have some type of meat salad, meat veggie type combo. If I'm on the go, if I'm running from a meeting to another meeting, I will have 6-inch Subway. If not, if it's something like leftovers, I'll have some type of chicken and salad, or some form of balanced meal where it would have like rice, a bit of meat, and some type of mixed salad. And again, with dinner or in the afternoon, I try and have another snack, whether it be some type of fruit or Chobani yogurt, just to fill that gap between lunch and dinner. And then when I move on to dinner, I would always try and again have some type of meat, veg, salad, carb combo, whether it be pasta, spag bowl with some type of salad, or a rice dish like a Thai green curry with some nice veggies and nuts mixed in it. But again, it's always balanced and real food. I'm a massive fan of just being able to get fairly whole foods, and putting that into something that's quite simple, fresh, light, and healthy. Thanks again for everyone tuning in to join me on the second episode of Road to Professionalism. If you have any questions, please send them through, as they'll be what I use to continue to generate the show and share my stories and my insights and the things that I've learned along the way. So please leave your questions in the comments and I'll answer them.